My friend, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast, a podcast that brings you exclusive interviews from experts all over the world with life-changing work that you didn't even know existed. I'm your host, Prima Jobs, a partner for those that are ready to take their life-changing work in front of those whose life or business depends on it. Please follow or subscribe for more. Welcome back. Welcome to yet another episode on the World's Best Kept Secret podcast. And with me is another special guest. I'm excited for this guest because her work is solving a problem that most coaches have. And that is, how do I get leads? How do I get people interested? How do I say the right words? How do I chase the algorithm? All of those things. When you feel like people are not coming through, your message is not doing the right thing, the algorithm is against you. There's so many problems coaches have. But one of the problems is, how do I get my pipeline steady? Most coaches have a dry pipeline. If you don't have a dry pipeline, you have a trickle. And so what you do want really is you want a flood. You want leads moving in and you can pick and select who you want to work with. What you want is kind of a tap where you turn leads on and turn leads off based on your capacity to deliver. As an expert, really your interest is in delivering your transformation. And all of these things are gravy, but really if there was a tap, which you could turn on and turn off, and people could come into your system as and when you needed them, this would be the dream. And that is why I picked interest in Hailey, who's collaborated with experts, including Amy Porterfield on her podcast. And I want to bring Hailey on because I feel like she is the person that is dedicated to solving this problem. Or how do you get people interested in what you do? How do you get people knowing what you do? How do you get people in your world? There's a saying that just because you build it doesn't mean they will come. So you could have the most amazing website and you could have the most amazing products and your work could be changing the world. But if no one knows about it, it's like we are doing hope business. And Harry is saying, no, there's no need to be on hope. There's no need to follow the trends. There's no need to follow that algorithm to the dot. There's a better way to build a business that fits around your lifestyle without sacrificing your sanity. And hopefully today she's going to take her through how she does that, because I feel like she's figured out something or a framework or a way that is proven to do this time and time again. But before I allow her to get on, I wanted to make sure that you understood who Harry is. She's a marketing and sales coach, and she specializes in helping health coaches and life coaches and service providers who want to kind of master client attraction. How do you get people into your pipeline? How do you get your message seen by the right people, more of the right people? She has a decade of experience. She shows you how to boost your client inquiries and bookings without the stress of social media overwhelm. I don't know about you, but being on 10 platforms is a nightmare for me. If you look for me today, I consistently post on Facebook. Every other platform is kind of an overwhelm for me. Like, I can't get myself to be on 6 platforms. And that is why I've been consistently on Facebook, because I don't want the overwhelm that comes with the multiple platforms. Her focus is effective lead generation through LinkedIn. Now, she does other social media as well, but she is very, very like on the dollar with LinkedIn. And what she does really is ensure you get more time to do the things that you actually love, while not letting the sales take a backseat. You can focus on the work you do of changing lives, and leads can still come in because you allow somebody else to come in and show you how. She's been featured top 25 coaches in Chicago by the Chicago Entrepreneur magazine. And her podcast has been in the top 6 business podcasts for health coaches. My goal is today, we will know exactly how to get people interested in our work, how to get that lead flow, how to get that flood of leads that we can turn on and turn off as we please. Without further ado, Hailey, welcome to the world's best kept secret podcast. I'm thrilled
Thank you.
that you made it today. I'm really thrilled. I have said a lot about what you do. Some of it may be on point, some of it may be off point. I have a PhD in that. Could you please use a minute to tell people exactly how you help people so that whatever I said, if I said something that is not right, it can be corrected in this moment?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. I think that you really introduced what I do, which is helping people with their client attraction process and figuring out how to bring in leads, how to interest leads, how to communicate their messaging. So yeah, it's definitely on point.
Amazing. Before we even get further, if you know that this message is going to serve you, at the end, I'm going to ask you to actually share this episode. Who Hailey is looking for is coaches, spiritual coaches, life coaches, service providers. They just have a problem getting leads in the system. They have amazing work, but they just can't seem to get leads. So if you're thinking of someone, at the end, if this is helpful to you, I will be asking you to share this episode with them, because that is how we get to move this message in the world, and that is how we get to change the world together. Because imagine if you could share this, and the person you shared it with could share it, and that continued. I don't know that there's any better marketing than us sending this to one person, not sharing it on your platform, no, just in the DMs, just in WhatsApp, sharing this to somebody that you know needs leads. How powerful is that chain? Before we go deep into the frameworks and all the amazing stuff you do, Hailey, why don't you tell us about your story? How did you get here? How did you get into this work?
Yeah. So I had an interest in personal development at a pretty young age. I was an old soul, and I started to dabble in some certifications. So I got a certification in behavioral change and some other types of certifications, and started to fall in love with this whole coaching thing. And I wasn't sure how I wanted to pull it all together at the time, but I ended up getting my bachelor's in entrepreneurship. And then after college, I decided I need more experience in entrepreneurship before I'm going to have my own business. And so I ended up working in business development and marketing for some wellness startups and some personal development based companies. One was like a certification company, one was more like a wellness facility, things like that. And I loved it. It was a very fast-paced environment. And it forced me to learn marketing and sales very quickly, because when you work at a startup and it's a small team, you're pretty much forced to produce results and figure things out. And so I loved that time in my life. But in 2017, one of the companies that I worked for was facing some delays. They had over anticipated their timeline. And so the entire team got let go in a day. And I decided at that point, that was my turning point, because I knew I wanted to have my own business. And I figured, well, if even my job isn't that safe and entrepreneurship may not be that safe, I might as well just do the entrepreneurship thing, because ultimately that's what I want to do. So I ended up starting to work with wellness professionals originally, then kind of expanded to life coaches and service providers and helping them with their marketing, with their sales process, with their messaging, things like that. And started my podcast called Health Coach Nation, and have been doing it ever since.
Amazing. So, in your own experience, what are coaches doing wrong that is making them not have the leads that they need? What are they missing? Where, what is the misconception about leads and getting clients that you see in the marketplace?
Yeah. Well, I would say the first misconception or problem really is, a lot of times if you ask somebody what they do as a coach, they don't know how to explain it in a way that's captivating and compelling to their target audience. So that's either because they don't have a target audience, or they just are more focused on like the coachy language or long-term language, or just like nice to have type of language, instead of a real problem that's urgent to their audience and a problem that people would pay money to solve. So the first thing is figuring out what is your message and making sure it's clear enough and focused on a dream outcome or pain point. that people will actually pay money to solve. And the second thing that I think is a challenge is they think that, because maybe they're not used to entrepreneurship and lead generation, they have a little bit of a misconception that, oh, well, if I just, be on one podcast or set up my website or do one post or, do a couple of things, then I'll be good. People will just find me and people will just reach out. And the truth is, it has to be a volume of making what I call pre-offers, which is basically like giving a freebie or a quick win or something upfront, and then having a process to invite people to your sales process. But a lot of people just think, oh, well, if I just put out my offer or do a post about my offer or, talk about it once here and there, people are going to know, people are going to reach out. And it's a bit of a misestimate of the work required to be able to book clients and generate leads consistently.
So what is the right way, or what is your truth around how real things work? Like what's your truth around getting people interested in what you have to offer and doing it in a way that is measurable and repeatable and not being in a hope business? A lot of people have a hope business and, they think things will happen, but really, like that's not the truth of it.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts or truth around that?
My thought and my truth around that is looking at the big picture and using what I call the 4 steps of client attraction. So there, in my opinion, no matter what marketing platform you pick or what method of marketing you choose, there's pretty much 4 steps somebody has to go through before they buy from you. And that is the connection phase, which is when you are getting visible in front of someone. The engagement phase, which is when you are finding out what is useful or what does your audience want, or asking an intentional question to engage them or have them raise their hand like, oh yeah, I struggle with that, or I'm interested. And then there's the pre-offer phase, which is when you give a quick win up front of some kind or something that allows someone to see that you are a good source of information, you are somebody who they'd want to work with. And you're removing some of that hesitation or friction they might have before the sales process. And then the last step is that sales process, when you are actually having a discovery call with someone, or you have a webinar where you promote your product or whatever it is. But basically that, I think people tend to get really like overthink. I don't know which platform to start with, so I'm going to do all of them just a little bit. Or I, don't know, they're not engaging with their audience, or just kind of they're guessing what people want and putting a call to action in their post perhaps, but no one's really taking action. Or they don't have some kind of pre-offer. They're just skipping straight to the sales phase, and kind of like you were using when we were talking earlier, the analogy of like, people might need to go on a date with you or experience you a little bit before getting married to you. So that is the overall steps that somebody moves through.
So connect, engage, give a pre-offer, and then take people to. What are some of the examples of a pre-offer? Because I find this word is, I don't know, lead magnets, all of those things are there. But I find that people misunderstand what a lead magnet or a pre-offer is. Because, for example, for me, my pre-offer is come be a guest. Because when you're my guest, I can get a very good feel of where I can help. I can get a very good feel of where I can lift your message. And through this process, most people are able to see what I can do. So off of this process, if I have something I can add to your business, then I can, which means I'm able to actually change your business in that whole. And if people want more, that's up to them. If they don't want more, that's up to them. Could you help people understand I feel like people say create a lead magnet, but it comes dressed in sandpaper. It's not so clear what a lead magnet is, because, for example, for me, my lead magnet is come and be a guest. Nobody ever told me that can be a good lead magnet to get in touch with people that may need your help. So can you help people understand in how many forms and shapes to look at this pre-offer? Because I feel like if you're not doing this pre-offer, you're not having conversations. And if you're not having conversations, your pipeline is going to be dry no matter what else you're trying to do. If you can't figure out the way to get people to raise their hand and start speaking to you, it's just going to be tough.
Yeah, definitely. So you bring up a really good point that there can be different definitions of what a pre-offer really is. And the big picture is you want to give a slice of your cake, whereas your program or your offer is your whole cake. So I think a lot of people think, oh, I have to give a really long, good ebook that's 200 pages. And that's not what I'm talking about. A pre-offer needs to be a sliver. It needs to be one tangible, small, quick win or one introduction type of thing that does give value, but it's not overwhelming and it's not solving all of your ideal clients' problems because that's what your actual program is for. So, for example, it can be in the form of a lead magnet, meaning where you take someone's email and then you give like a cheat sheet or a video class, or sometimes people, who aren't tech savvy and don't want to set that up yet, they just might have a short intro call with someone and be really hands-on and give some value or something like that. And I used to do Instagram audits with people and like help them optimize their Instagram profile before, just to see if they had any other goals and if they wanted to go further. But it's kind of like what you're saying too. It could be as simple as having someone on your podcast and having that process to see if you can help them deeper. It could be sending people to your Facebook group where you put all the value, things like that. And one of the things I'll say about the pre-offer, to give an example, is I've done trainings that have worked well and I've done trainings that haven't. And for example, the ones that work well are like one of my best back in the day Facebook challenges was something where it was called like how to book discovery calls using Instagram this week. It was something very tangible, something micro focused. And naturally, that got the most signups out of all the Facebook challenges I did because it was specific. And then I was able to say, and if you're looking to use other platforms or you're struggling with what to post on Instagram or other things, that's where the discovery call comes in and the sales process comes in. Versus when I've done topics more like the 5 hidden mistakes blocking you from clients, it's a little more broad. It's a little less like conceptually, I can't see what I'm really going to walk away being able to do this, what I'm going to be able to do this week. And so that one didn't do necessarily as well as some of my other topics. So I think that people need to, when you're thinking about your pre-offer, think about what is that micro tangible, cool thing that my people want to solve right now that could be a lead in to your offer. So it should be somewhat related to your paid offer. It shouldn't just be something totally different where it's really hard to make that transition.
I really like that. I feel like people need a new definition of a lead magnet. Because for me, clicking give me your email has never worked. And that's because I don't buy through lead magnets. I also don't open emails. And so I buy differently. I have to somehow experience a result from you in advance. And I think it can be a struggle when people tell you to create a lead magnet, because all of my coaches are like, create a lead magnet. And I'm like, about what? That's not how I buy. And so for me, it is always in this conscious choice of, but I wouldn't buy from that. Why would I imagine that my person is going to buy from that? So I guess depends on who you're serving. But a lead magnet, in my opinion, is anything that gets you in the door. What can get you in the door to make people know that moving further with you is not a risk.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things in the world that people say they do that they don't. And so at this point, you have to understand that people are coached out, people are coached out, people are lead magneted out. So it's like people are really just tired. I open my email every day and I'm like, when did I give all these people my email? And you know what I do every day? I lift everyone. I have no idea who they are. And there's a folder called never open, the hell folder. And I just drop them there. And the only people in my email are those people that I'm either paying to learn from or I have consciously looked for and opted into their stuff. And so I like lead magnets, but I think that there is a third door always. to get in
Mhm.
front of someone and show them what you can do. So in my opinion, if you're trying to sell to someone like me, find a third door. What is the other way that you can get in front of your ideal person and demonstrate what you can do?
Yeah. Well, and that's why I'm also a big fan. Like, this is another form of a pre-offer, is doing like guest trainings for someone's community or their
Mm.
membership, or being like a guest expert on a in a summit or a panel or something like that. Or doing like live, one thing that I've done in the past as well to kind of give the experience of what you do is like a hot seat coaching session on your podcast, for example, where you can actually like coach someone and people can see what that's like. So it doesn't always have to be, hey, you sign up for this guide, you give me your email. But I will say, even though that's not how you buy there, I'm surprised because I feel the same way sometimes. I'm like, oh, like, I guess my buyer's journey, I meet them because I got a warm introduction to someone and I've heard about their work from somebody with word of mouth, and maybe I have a call with them and blah, blah, blah. But there are people who, for some reason, I mean, they do get nurtured through your emails and book a call and whatnot. So it's a combination of thinking, not everybody's like me. So how do I tend to the people not like me? And then who would I be responsive to? And how do I also do pre-offers in that format or that way too?
That's powerful. For me, I just always think, how do I like to be marketed to?
Yeah.
That's how I
Yeah.
market. How do I sell? How do I buy? That's how I sell. How do I consume lead magnets or whatever this is that people do? And that's how I try to create mine. In so doing, what has happened is I just attract people who are like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I think with the freebie, like you mentioned a really good point. People don't want these days, I've seen this shift. They don't want more free stuff. They don't want more stuff that's going to take them time to go consume. They want things that remove things from their plate, solve something quicker and easier. So if in your pre-offer there's some way to incorporate that you're actually taking off something from their list, or deleting something or making something easier or less, that can be powerful as well.
Hmm. I understand you do have a framework called F.A.S.T. What does
Mhm.
it help people do?
Yeah. So I created the FAST framework, which
Mm.
is an acronym, and we can go through it one day in the sauna because I was trying to think about how do I communicate what it really takes to build your coaching business to full time, and what were the things that I had to figure out to do that. And so it stands for followers, action, sales, time management, and transformation. And what I mean by that with followers is we first have to get clear on who do you want as followers, meaning who do you want to be working with? And then from there, fleshing out what is going to be your lead generation system. Is it going to be LinkedIn lead gen to start with? Is it going to be local marketing? Is it going to be partnership marketing? Things like that. And we start with one, kind of like you were saying, like rather than needing to be on 10 platforms at once, start with one, get it good, and then keep expanding from there. And
Mm.
then the action piece is how do you create a message, an offer, and content that is compelling enough that people want to actually take action. So that comes down to looking at your copy, looking at how you're structuring things. And the sales piece is how do you create your offer itself or offers and pricing, and coach through the common objections in your marketing, and then have your sales process. And what is that going to be? The time management piece is where to focus each week. So a lot of times my clients feel just very overwhelmed with all the different options for marketing, and they get the shiny object syndrome and all of that. And so I help them navigate, like, here, if we had to just prioritize certain things that, we believe are the client generating activities, here's what we'd focus on. And then the transformation piece is two things. One, what's the personal transformation required to build your business the way that you want it? So a lot of people get caught up on along the way on like, I'm not tech savvy. And so then they think they can never learn a new tech skill, or they think I don't like being visible at all, and they're afraid of that. And so we have to coach a little bit on that, or I'm not good enough to blah, blah, blah. So a lot of times that does come into your business and we have to clean that up to be able to do the things we need to do. And then the other piece of transformation is making sure that you do have some kind of differentiator with your framework or process or way that you do things, and that you have a clear like point A to point B of your offer and some good case studies, testimonials, things like that that you can use in your marketing. So overall, it's just kind of a well-rounded way to say that, what does it take to build up your offer, put it out there, sell it, that kind of thing.
Which of these followers, action, how do I get followers exactly? How do I move from one follower to, I don't know, whatever the number is people want? How do I get followers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the first thing would be to decide where do you want the followers. And so let's say you chose LinkedIn or something like that. Then what we would do is we would do a combination of things. Number one, we would connect with people because there's something on LinkedIn called a connection request, which is basically the equivalent of like a friend request on Facebook. So you would want to start sending those out to either potential partners who you could partner with, do a guest training for their audience, do a podcast interview with, or something like that, where you can get in front of several people at once. So those kinds of opportunities we want to pursue on LinkedIn to grow your audience, or potential clients. Let's say you work with a certain type of professional. You may be sending connection requests to expand your network within that niche or audience. So that would be the first thing. And then from there, we would want to start pursuing the partnership opportunities. So being as simple as, sharing, hey, we're both in the same field. We both have a similar audience. I'd love to, would you be open to exploring collaboration here? And then share how you think you guys can collaborate. And then from there, when you do the guest training, making that, or the podcast or whatever that is, making that call to action of where you want people to connect with you and follow you and sharing why they would care. And then the other option, would be to start just building relationships within your target audience and getting to know people and making your pre-offer and your conversations and or in your posts, things like that. So it will depend on, your style and the way you want to go about marketing. Some of my clients really like using, like some of my clients to get followers are more focused on in their community. They want to be, the go-to in their town. And so they do a lot of local partnerships and things like that. And they use something like LinkedIn to find people locally to reach out to. So it depends on your style and what you want to do, but that's an example of, one platform and how you might go about building your followers.
How do I get leads if I don't have time and can't do all of the things, all the connections, all of how do if my intention is to sit in my genius and just solve, what is the easiest way to get leads?
Well, the first easiest one is if you've had practice clients, past clients, people who've coached with you for free, anything like that, it would be to start a referral program and just say, hey, I'm starting a referral program. If you know one or two people who want a free blah, blah, blah session, let me know. If they enroll in a service, you would get blank, some kind of incentive. Would it be a commission? Would it be, they get service from you? That to me is like such a low-hanging fruit that people miss, that can get you leads without needing to be like, okay, I got to go sit on Instagram or I got to do a long post or whatever. The second thing would be that's efficient is, like I said, getting in front of one-to-many. So doing a talk in front of 10 people or 20 people or more, instead of just one-to-one connections and conversations. And then the third thing would be delegate. If you really don't have the time for lead generation, that is something that you can have a team around. And that is why so many companies have marketing support and agencies and things like that. So I think that first I would start doing it yourself, and I would start a referral program, or I would start things like that. But eventually, if you want to stay in your genius and you're like, I don't want my pipeline to dry up, it is a component of your business and it has to be happening whether you're doing it or someone else.
That's good. If you don't want to market and stuff, you can grow. I know someone who's done 15 years of referral and she's never She does one-on work though, so she's never found the desire to market, the need to market, and she's not interested in becoming like a 7, 8 figure person. She just wants that one-on-one impact, and so she's never found a reason to market because she has enough referral business coming in. So I guess when we go too deep into the referral business, there's a lot that you can do in there, and you can build a referral business. So I really like this. I like this. If I was having a little bit of time, but I found things overwhelming a little bit, how should I, like, how, in your experience, could I start looking at managing my own time on social
Hmm.
media? Because it can get really
Yeah.
overwhelming. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it definitely is. Well, I think the first thing that I would consider is doing a brain dump on all the things you think you need to be doing in your business and all the, just anything that you feel like you have to get done. And then I think what I would do is ask yourself, where did I get, if you've had success before, ask
Mm,
yourself, where did I get my last clients? Where have they been coming from? If you don't have past success, ask yourself, which of these things on this list do I feel would be the most promising and or scalable and or get me in front of the most people who are my niche. And then I would prioritize the top, 1 to 2 things you think that would do that and turn it into something that is actionable. So where a lot of people get stuck and overwhelmed with marketing and lead gen is they just write down on their to-do list, like, market or like post about my program or, finished website. And all of those things are really broad. And so your brain's going to be like want to procrastinate and whatnot, versus if you say, send 3 partnership outreach messages today, or, finish the headline on my homepage, or send out 3 podcast pitches or something like that. It's much more doable to
mm,
manage your time better, know what you're doing, break it down, get it done, that kind of thing. So one of the things that I do with my clients is we create what we call like a weekly business protocol. And sometimes it'll have what we call weekly basics, meaning like things that you're going to do actually ongoing every week. And then there's other things that are more just like, this is stuff we have to get done this week. And it's not like a reoccurring task, but it's just something you need to prioritize, or there will be consequences, or you have a deadline, or you have to get back to clients, or whatever it is. So I think that helps a lot of people just see like, okay, here's my, and I did this as well for my content. Like I have a protocol for my content where I say, post, this many testimonials on your Instagram stories each week. Do 1 post about your lead magnet each week, so I think just every part of your business, it's helpful to have some kind of protocol or way you break it down into targets and things like that.
the more specific, the more terrific in
Ooh, I like that.
business, in life. Yeah, the more specific, the more terrific.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, you've been such a blessing to the show. If someone was to take step 1 of lead generation, I am just tired of the pipeline being empty, being really like no one is coming through. I'm tired of just hope marketing. And I need someone to hold my hand, someone who really knows how to get leads in the system. Because without leads, I feel like there's no business. What is step 1 of getting this leads problem solved? What is step 1 in your world?
Yeah. Well, I think step 1 would be understand that the number of offers you make minus the no's equal your results. And so decide, how are you going to make more pre-offers, not paid offers necessarily, but what's going to
Mm,
be your method right now for generating more of those? Because if you do give more of those, you're going to see
mm.
more results. So pick which platform or which place you think is going to be the best use of your time for being able to make those pre-offers.
Number of pre-offers minus the no's equals your results. There you have it. There you have it. Tell us about where to find you, where to dive into your work, where to kind of get in your world and begin to have a feel of what things look like around your world.
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at Hailey_Rowe. And I also have an option to book a free client attraction consult at my website, HaileyRowe.com, along with several other freebies. and the Health Coach Nation podcast, and the Marketing Hub Facebook group, which is a place where you can network and connect with other entrepreneurs and get free business growth tips.
There you have it. Everything that Hailey has talked about will be rightfully in the show notes. If you're on a podcast platform or on YouTube or wherever this is you're watching from, just check in the show notes and you should have every link that she's talked about or haven't talked about, but which is a good way to connect with her in the show notes. For you who's made it through, again, you could have been doing so many things with your life, but you stuck through. And I really want to celebrate you and say, I see you, and I'm appreciative that you could do that for yourself. If you know anyone, a health coach, a life coach that needs leads, could you please pass on this interview to them? Could you share this with them? There's one way we can get Hailey's message in front of as many people as possible, and that is you participation. If you've gotten value out of this, kindly press the button and share it with one person. Not on your platform, not on your social media, no, just in someone's inbox. And say, hey, I think you need to watch this because of this. I believe that's the fastest way and the most reliable way to move this episode is to share it with a person that you know needs to hear it. If you haven't already, I would be honored if you became a part of the community, if you got involved in what we are doing. And the way you do this is by one, following or rating. It depends on where you are. So you can either subscribe or follow. It depends on what podcast platform you're at. And the other thing is, could you give us a rating? Could you rate this show? Could you tell the world that there's amazing things happening here? The more you can do those things, the bigger the platform can get. The bigger the platform can get, the better guests I can pull off. The bigger the guests, the more insight and more masterclass kind of interviews we can do here. And so I would urge you to be a part of this. I would urge you to be a part of shaping the world's best kept secret podcast. Because on this podcast, we bring you all of the guests that have life-changing work that the world doesn't know about. And between that and you sharing is how we build this beautiful orbit of people changing their lives, people changing their businesses, and people literally changing their lives. And that is how we can contribute to this generation. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next episode. That is it, my friend. To listen to more exclusive interviews like this one, simply go to the world's best kept secret podcast.com and select interviews based on preferred topic.